All right, should be live now. Let me just make sure.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, Kevin. Thank you.
Okay.
Are you
All right, we
ready?
should be good. Yep.
I'm going to call the special meeting to order. Did everybody get a chance to review the agenda? Do you have, we need to approve it. Can I get a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the special board meeting agenda. Is there any more discussion or any discussion or questions? When I call your name, please state your vote. Laura,
Aye.
Kevin,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
David, David, did you unmute and I didn't hear you? Oh,
It looks like he's on, just looks like he's muted. There he goes.
yeah.
It went on. He should be able to talk if he's talking.
Well, it looks like he's talking, but I can't hear him. It must be something about today. We all have to have technical problems, huh?
Hey, David, if you can hear us, if you want to just put it in the chat, that will work too.
He gave us a thumbs up.
Okay, that works.
Is that better?
There you go.
Oh,
I had to unplug my speakers, sorry.
okay. So who did I miss? Mike? Did I get it? All five?
Yeah, no, you got me.
You
Okay.
missed me and I say aye.
Okay. I knew I missed somebody. I just couldn't remember who all I'd called. Okay. So we don't have any public comment.
Correct.
So we'll move on to the MOU possibility. I sent that out to everyone. Did everyone get a chance to review it? And does anybody have any questions or concerns about it that Cindy, Kevin, or I can answer?
I read it over. Thanks for doing all that work. I know that's one of those things that has to be done, but I appreciate you guys doing it.
Thank you.
I do have a question. Is there definition to the Part C 4.1 without just cause at the end of that statement?
Okay, I think I didn't pull up a copy of it when I had that one.
Doesn't that
Read it to
we
you?
have to can't not renew a contract if somebody's been here that long, or if they haven't done anything wrong?
Okay, so basically that section, the 4.1, is that the one you're talking about? Article 4.1?
Yep.
Okay, so basically the first line in that, no teacher shall be disciplined, reprimanded, reduced in rank or compensation or deprived of any professional advantage without just cause, is actually already in our CBA. That's just a copy of what it is. Basically,
Right, but if we're excuse me, if we're replacing the old one, this is a time to discuss what the new one would say, right?
well, no. Because basically what this is this is just going to extend the current CBA with the provision that we can open it for discussions anytime in the next 2 years to make any negotiations or changes to it.
Right. I get that. I'm just curious. I mean, that's without just cause is pretty vague.
Okay. But that
So if I can jump in here real quickly. So some of this stuff is based off of law as well. And I know that Chris and the labor management have been working with the lawyers on this. I think this was something that they kind of drew up as well. Is that correct, Chris?
That's correct.
Okay.
And the difference in what is in the CBA and what is on this MOU is the fact that we've extended out our ability to sign teachers without them acquiring tenure until they sign their 4th contract. I think that's the way it states, isn't it?
Correct. That's the last sentence in there. Yes.
Yeah. So what we have in there now is that they basically become tenure after they sign their 2nd contract. And to agree to sign the MOU or to agree to do an MOU with the GEA, we asked them to give this to us to show, because we felt like we were giving a lot in exchange for agreeing to an MOU as quickly as they were asking us to do it. And part of their reasoning is they're concerned about all the right to work legislation that's at the state level right now. And they wanted to kind of protect their contracts until we understand exactly what all of the new legislation might bring if it gets passed into law. I think
Right. That still doesn't answer my question, I guess. I get this as adding to what is already there, but do we have something in what is already there that describes what just cause is?
No. This is basically, that statement is basically what was in there. And just cause, without just cause, is more of a legal term than it is something you would have to talk to the lawyer to find out what they consider to be just cause.
Yeah. So just cause is a little bit more detailed in what needs to be. So there's, if you have to have just cause, you have to show that there is some type of insubordination, negligence. There's just a bunch of things to show just cause. And so most people, might hear of like non-renewal. So you can non-renew someone, which is without cause. Basically, it's just saying we're just not choosing to renew your contract, versus having to go through a lengthy process to, to put things in writing and, show that you've been working with them to get that. And like Chris was saying, that is the just cause is something that we would have to follow based off of law. There's a process you'd go through basically, instead of just like if you were going to non-renew someone, then you would basically be able to just non-renew them without cause. And so this then just extends that to the 4th instead of the before. But state law states that, but this is basically aligning everything to state law, basically.
Right. Because I think that if you were to look up the law, you would find out that it probably refers to just cause. And they might define the just cause, but we didn't define it in the CBA. I'm sure I didn't answer your question yet, but.
And just cause is sometimes in a court of law at the end of it all. I like that. It's such a broad, even in the regular world of working, you can't fire somebody without a reason if they're outside of their, if they have a contract. So I think that's a pretty standard terminology being used.
Mike, did you have a question?
I guess my only question would be, I guess this is kind of going into the next subject, but the masks being in the contract. Now that there's none of that in this, correct?
No, because this MOU doesn't exist. The
Okay.
MOU that the mask is in is the one that we signed earlier when did we sign it? At the end of the summer?
The very beginning of the year, and that was the MOA, Memorandum of Agreement, for just this year only. This MOU is just what's on that piece of paper, and that's extending the actual contract that's already in place through the end of this year, which is the MOA from the beginning of the, I know it's confusing, but the MOA from the beginning of the year was just to govern this year in COVID. So yes, this MOU has nothing to do with mass. That's not in there, or doesn't even refer to it.
Okay, that's what I was checking, double checking.
Are there any other questions? Basically, what the Labor Management Committee is recommending that the board approve this MOU and sign it and add it onto the CBA or the contract that we have with the teachers now. It will be in force. We will still probably be required to negotiate certain things, and the list of items articles that are on there are all the articles in the CBA, with the exception of some that were directly related to the union and really didn't affect the district. It was more having to do with, well, I think some of it was what they could, they had to let the business office know that they wanted money deducted from their dues deducted from their checks and things like that. So, but all the rest of them are articles that would be things that we normally would bring up for negotiations. So if the union would like to negotiate salary later in the year, preferably after the legislature, we would probably open negotiations to do that.
I have another
that's
question, Chris.
Okay.
Is the last sentence there in 4.1, the fourth contract signing, is that different than what they've had in the past?
Yes. Right now, I believe it's upon signing the second contract with the district, no teacher shall be discharged without just cause. Am I correct, Mr. Schreiber?
That's correct. Right now it says second, so this would be changing it to the fourth, which lines up to state law.
Yes. I was just going to say.
Yeah, you couldn't do it further out than that because of the law.
Yeah.
That's as far as you'd be able to do it.
So basically what I need is either a motion to agree to approve the MOU and have the district sign it. The union has already ratified it. We just need to ratify it so that we can instate it, or not.
I move to accept the crap MOU. I have to figure out the right word to ratify it, whatever I'm trying to say.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to ratify the MOU. When I call your name, please state your vote. Mike.
Aye.
David.
Aye.
Laura.
Aye.
Cindy.
Aye.
Kevin.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, guys. Appreciate that. It was a little exciting at times, wasn't it? But we got that done.
Yes,
Yeah. Okay, so the next thing on the agenda is to discuss the mass? Mr. Schreiber, since you've taken your agenda down?
Agenda is down?
All I see is the contract now.
Okay, I didn't realize it.
Yes.
It switched.
Yeah. Discussion about the mask mandate. Since our governor has dissolved the mask mandate, it was asked that we discuss whether or not we're going to stop requiring masks inside the school. I think because Mr. Schreibeis also explained to me that because of our MOA that we signed for the COVID year, is that the mask, it is requiring that masks be worn by students or socially distanced or other things like that? Or
Yeah, so right now you guys have it in policy. We have it in 2 policies that states that masks will be worn. We also have it with the MOA, the Memorandum of Agreement with the GEA, for people on school grounds as well. So those are the 2 things that you have it currently in.
okay. And since the policy is an emergency policy, we probably could make a change after just having it discussed at the school or at a meeting. But because it's in the MOA, we would probably need to negotiate with the teachers union to see if they would agree to have that removed or amended. Personally, the couple discussions I've had with teachers about it, I don't think that they're going to be willing to change that. And Mr. Schreibeis said that Miles City had a meeting last night. Was it last night you said?
Last night, yeah, they met last
And
night.
they voted not to remove the masks, to leave the masks on for the remainder of the school year. Feedback, people. This is a time for us to discuss it. We really can't do anything, but I figured we should at least discuss it so that everyone's aware of what's going on in case somebody has people asking you questions so that you can tell them what you know.
But we can, as the district, remove the policy and fall back to the fact that it's the teachers union that has to make the change to make it official. Correct?
We could, but in my we've already had a fairly volatile relationship with the teachers union over the past years. They have not had good relationships with the administration and the district. And I would really prefer not to throw them under the bus, considering we're going to sign an MOU and at some point have to start negotiating things again. I mean, they were really willing to do some negotiations with us, and I'd like to see it move forward. I'd like to see the relationship with the teachers in the district and the administration continue to get positive. And I think that removing the policy, I don't have a problem with removing the policy, but then throwing the teachers under the bus by telling everybody in the county or the country that they're the ones that are holding up people not having to wear masks at school. I think that's kind of I don't know. I don't think that's a very
Well, I agree 100% with you on that. I'm totally on the fence of what this could and should and probably will be. At the same time as us restoring a relationship with the teachers, we've also have a district that we need to vote in the future on behalf of things we need to do as a school district. And do we burden ourselves later in later votes because we upset people now because we're going against, a lifted state mandate and we're doing it and taking it upon ourselves to keep it in effect. I mean, we've all heard the stuff going around town. I mean, right now we have this board. I guess I'd be curious to what other board members feel our public would feel about us doing this and then later needing them on our side to do something else. Say a school bond issue. Just throw it out there.
I'll honestly say that I think it's never quite so black and white. We saw that if we're just talking about public opinion, we saw that no matter what we were doing, the only people we heard from were the ones who were upset.
Right.
And I think that that can be a challenge. But I also think that having the teachers be shifted sort of down in the vaccination scheduling, or however you want to word that, is it something that we could compromise on? I think removing masks from the schools would be better once teachers have all had the opportunity to be vaccinated, should they choose to do so. I feel like that's a fair middle ground for us to meet on with both parties. I know there's people who are like, no more masks right now, but even the governor himself said that he's going to continue to wear a mask, and he encourages every single Montanan to continue to wear a mask as well. So he lifted the mandate because he didn't agree with how that played out, but that still doesn't mean that no one should be wearing a mask anymore, according to our own governor.
Do you know, Mr. Schreibeis, what tier the teachers got put in for vaccinations?
Yeah, absolutely. They were in 1B and they got moved down to 1C. So they're still working through 1B. So that was one of the downsides with when you're in the schools, the downside with schools being moved down, our staff didn't have access to the vaccines as soon as we were hoping. When we had a plan, I was working with the health department before the governor put us into the 1C. I was working with Timber on, we sent a survey out to our staff. We were going to try to get everyone vaccinated as soon as they got doses. And then when we got put into 1C, that had to get thrown out the window. And now we're just waiting until 1B gets there. There's some other options we're trying to do everything we can to try to get vaccines to our staff members. But yeah, that being moved down just makes it tough. And just something else on that as well is, we're talking a lot about the teachers, and that's a big part of our school employees, but we also have administrators. We also have classified staff of paraprofessionals, custodians, bus drivers, and so forth that, when we're talking about COVID, we're talking about the possibility of them getting it. A lot of research shows that, kids aren't as susceptible to this, but it's the staff. And so we have a lot of staff who we need to be protecting and making sure that we can continue on opening our doors. One of the things, I know in our public, there's a lot of angst towards masks, and I totally understand that, but there's also angst towards virtual learning. And we've done everything in our power to make sure kids get back in school, and that the community came through for us huge ways when we asked for subs, and we had parents coming and doing a sub drive, and then we said some more things about it, and people started signing up. And honestly, what the community did there, they saved us from going virtual and a couple times, especially in Washington Middle School, because of those new subs that came in and so forth. A fear of mine is, if the board decides not to do masks, let's just say you negotiate with the teachers or whatever, and then we have a bunch of staff members that need to have accommodations because of their health issues, and so then we're having to, I don't know where we'd get the money for one or the people, but let's say all of that falls into place. What ends up happening is we'd be using our sub pool. The chances of us going virtual again skyrockets. And so, yes, it might appease people with not having the masks, but it puts us in a situation where our odds of going virtual increase quite a bit. And I think that if we were to talk with parents, I think that's the hardest piece of it, is having to take off work to be with their kids or put them in daycares or, whatever. So just something else I wanted to throw out there in the conversation as to kind of like what Laura's saying, there's a lot to this picture, and there's a lot of staff members, and there's just a lot of situations that would come up with a decision to, remove masks from school. There's a lot of dominoes that would fall because of it.
I just think that maybe it's worth a discussion. I mean, if we keep everything as it is now, and once the teachers start getting to be able to be vaccinated, chances are good that they would be interested in negotiating with us to allow, as more and more of them are vaccinated, that they would allow us to be able to go in and take the mask down or mask mandate out. But I think to just go in and remove the policy, and then when people say, well, how come we still can't? I mean, basically the governor's directive also says that it is up to each individual business or school or anything else that's there. So, I mean, I really think that it's not, at this point, let's wait until we get some more vaccines into some people and then have a discussion about it again. Because I personally do not think that the teachers union is going to be too willing to negotiate alleviating masks. I think we should be concerned about everyone in our building. And I mean, that's my opinion. Somebody else may give you theirs. Mike, we haven't heard from you.
Yeah, I was just kind of waiting. I've made my views pretty clear on masks, but also, I mean, a deal's a deal. I mean, we signed the deal with the teachers, and I don't see it worth 3 months of going back on a deal. The one thing I'd like to say though is, could there be some kind of middle ground as far as school? Just leave it as is, but say extracurriculars, say people attending games, leave that up to minimum requirements of the state, or is it written in that or does the MOA cover that as well? Or would they be able, I mean, would they negotiate just that part? Say, hey, we're totally willing to live off our word on that in general, but let the people in the crowd make their own decisions.
I don't know, did the governors still leave, is still oh, good Lord, I apologize. Is there still a requirement on how many people can attend functions?
No, he lifted that. He lifted that before the mask mandate, actually, and so we've been slowly and trying to safely, increase that every single week, and so that's we've been doing that. But yeah, there is no more requirements for numbers.
So we still have the requirement for masks for games, right?
At this point, yes, we have that requirement. Yes. And I think, and how many games do we have left? Maybe Spencer, are you on? How many? And Mark, how many games do we have left? Because that might be.
Yeah, this is Spencer. We've got a game on Friday, and we've got 2 games on Saturday. So we've got a boys freshman JV varsity game against Sydney on Friday, and then we've got a girls and boys varsity on Saturday. And then that's it.
Middle school, our seasons are complete except for track.
And basically, the track is going to be an outdoor activity, and then, I mean, by then we should be at a point where it's not a problem to let people stand outside without a mask. But that might require that we review the emergency policies to make sure that we can allow that to happen. But I think, I mean, we can't, even if the point being is that we can't take an action on it tonight. It'd be something we'd have to either have another meeting or wait and do it at the March meeting. If there's only 3 more games left, even by the time, we wouldn't be able to have another meeting before this weekend. So
Is there, oh, sorry. Is there anything that could be like in the auditorium for the rest of the year? Anything that scheduled for that, or if somebody uses the gym for other purposes, say AAU wrestling, or just for example, do they go under our mask standard too, or So I'm just thinking of various things.
Yeah, so
That it could
that's a
run
good
into
question.
again.
Yeah, that would be a good question, Mike. That is up to you. So anybody using our facilities, you still have that policy that comes to you guys, and you guys approve their plans. So you guys would have the ability to be able to do that in every single individual plan for anybody using our auditorium. I don't know what's planned in the auditorium moving forward. I do know that the Makoshka basketball tournament that you guys approved last board meeting would be one of those things. Their plan was already in place. They got approved by the health department and so forth, but which maybe could be relooked at or whatever. But yeah, I don't know. Spencer, do you know of anything in the auditorium coming up?
Ladonna's dance is coming up within a month. Their dance
Yeah.
competition.
Yeah.
Yep.
So they're gonna have to come to the board for board approval for that. So.
And then we'll have a spring choir, some choir concerts possibly.
But not before the next board meeting?
No.
Oh, Ladonna's dance might not even be before the next board meeting now that I think about it. Never mind.
Well, and I'm thinking that if it's something like the basketball tournament, if they want, they could approach us and amend their proposal that they've already given us. Otherwise, they should just go through with what they have.
Oh, and I may be completely slacking over here, but I thought we weren't going to look over their plans, and that we had stopped doing that quite some time ago and letting the health department decide. And now the health department, if I'm remembering correctly, is no longer doing that. So to me, I don't know if me and Mike are on the same side here or not, but I feel like maybe we are. We had said very, very early on that this stuff was all only in place, as long as this was an issue. So could we leave it up to the event holders to decide whether or not they want masks? Because I don't want to say masks aren't required and then have event holders say, oh, wait, we've got people coming from 9 states. We would really like masks, to just let them determine that since the governor has lifted that order. Do you think that would help, Mike? Is that where you're coming from, or am I way off base?
Yeah, no, that's kind of what I'm after, is just kind of a definition on extracurriculars. If it's something that I'd say, yeah, that's a good idea. If they want it, it's their event, they can have it. It's just.
So a question then, going back when Stefan, you were reading the 2 things that would keep us from making any changes because of the policy and the MOA. You said the MOA said something about people being on the campus. Would that include these other activities? I mean, what I'm asking basically is, are we still going to be legally bound by that MOA to still enforce masks at outside events, non-school events, since they're on?
That's a great question. I'm pulling it up right now so I can read it. It's in there. Just give me 1 second. Try to find it. It does say all individuals on school grounds shall wear a face covering when social distancing is not allowed.
But it doesn't give time frame.
No, it's pretty general. We would have to talk with legal as to what that contains, since it's in a MOA, and in the MOA is that with the teachers union can that restrict other functions that teachers aren't there, are there? I really don't know. We would have to talk with legal on that, and then talk with the teachers union as well. But that's what it says.
Because I agree with Mike and Laura. I think we should, in light of what's going on, they should be allowed to make their own decision on their event.
I was just thinking the verbiage on that should, we've heard about some of the administrators, I got to go tell them guys to put their masks on, but some of this doesn't free them up from that as far as like at events. If people are sitting in their stands, they're free to have their masks off if they're socially distanced. I mean, is that a correct analysis of the way that reads?
Yeah, if the social distancing, yeah. The policies then stop beyond that.
Okay.
Because of what we had decided for games and stuff. There was other pieces to that, so we'd still have to do some work on our other pieces.
Okay.
I'm going to ask maybe a risky question, which I should never do in a public situation, but the mask policy at events, which to me is a completely different thing than mask policy in the classroom. So just to clarify that point. You know, we have a sign on the gym door that says, you know, this is a tobacco-free campus, no tobacco products. But we don't expect Mr. Johnson to check everyone's bags and make sure they're not carrying tobacco. We just expect people to follow the rule and not be a disruptive, you know, not be a disturbance to others. Is that a way that, you know, that we could say, like, you know, we would really like you to wear a mask. We would really like our kids to be able to complete this season. If you're getting up and you're moving around, please put your mask on. And that's it. You know, we as a society do expect each other to follow posted rules. And would that be enough that we have it posted without having to create a sort of Glendive Public Schools mask police department, or at least let that police department die off so that we can just enjoy the game without feeling like you have to control that? I feel like I'm speaking and not making any sense. I'm so sorry. Did that even make sense?
That makes sense to me.
It makes sense.
Yeah, because I mean, really, the fear of litigation's over, isn't it? By the general public.
Yes.
So that was the whole enforcement thing is, hey, we got to enforce it or we're going to get sued and lose. You know, isn't that kind of gone away with this new legislation?
But that's fine. But we still have a policy in state that says that we have to enforce that. And until we remove or amend that policy, we still have to have mask mandate.
Okay.
So
But
we
does
can
that policy state that we will enforce the mask? Does it say that?
recall specifically if it says that they will enforce it.
No,
I think
it doesn't say that specifically that we will enforce and what we're going to do. It just states what it is, and our job when you guys make policy, our job as administrators is to follow through with those policies, right? So our job is to enforce. So it'd be like you guys saying, hey, it's I'm going to use an extreme example, but it's not okay to we have a policy against guns, and then but we're just going to kind of look the other way, you know, if, you know, I mean, our job becomes to enforce that. So whatever you guys have in policy becomes something that we then need to enforce or whatever. But I don't know if there's maybe some of the principals will have some thoughts on this or not. I don't want to necessarily throw you guys into it, but I don't want to misspeak either. So since you guys are the ones at the games, does anybody have any thoughts?
This is Rhett. And I've been to pretty much all the Eastern A other basketball games, and have been at all the boys games and some of the girls games here. I think finishing this year out for the basketball isn't going to be an issue. Most everybody that is wanting to come is able to come with how we've been doing tickets and things. Or this is my point of view. Mr. Larson and Mr. Johnson can pipe in too, but and I think the mask thing is going okay, and we're not having any troubles, and there hasn't been any protests or riots or anything like that. So I think getting through this weekend is going to be okay and not an issue. Moving forward with any future events, you guys will be able to have a board meeting between then. So the only real issue is just the Makoshka basketball tournament, the way I see it. It's coming up, I think, before you guys will have your next board meeting.
And I've seen some of Makoshka's plan a little bit, and it sounds like they're working pretty hard to maintain some social distancing and those things. So I don't know that we need to have a policy change in time for that. I was just really thinking next meeting, is that something that we could look at getting rid of, especially, you know, if people aren't, I haven't been to any games. I've been to the choir concert, and I just really didn't see any or hear any complaints. It's awkward and strange to wear them sometimes, but I think going to the next meeting, so we can make it an actionable item without having another special meeting that has to be noticed, so that we're missing the game because we're in a meeting. Does that seem okay to the rest of you guys?
Yeah, I was just going to suggest that. I mean, I think that it's worth putting the policies on the agenda for the March meeting so that we can discuss whether or not we want to make any changes to them or get rid of them. They were emergency meeting or policies with the intention that we would be able to not have them enforced after we were done going through the pandemic. And even though we aren't to that point, there might be parts in it that we can amend to allow for masks as long as people socially distance for activities or events. And maybe that gives us time to have legal look at the terminology on the MOA so that we have a little better idea or understanding of what that would mean for us. So, I mean, I totally am not against making the changes. I just think that it's not worth making a big rush at it. I think that we've only got 3 months left of school. So it might not be the worst. And I don't know how quickly the vaccines are going to get in through the county and how quickly we'll be able to move to the 1C level for the teachers to start getting vaccinated. But
I think they have to have 2 doses spaced out before it's considered complete anyway.
yeah, no, I think I heard the other day that they've changed it from 2 weeks apart to 3 weeks apart.
Oh, wow.
I don't know if that's because of the way the doses are coming in or if it's because they decided that they were too close together. I don't know.
I agree with Mike on that as far as the teacher's contract, that a deal's a deal. And I don't think sowing seeds of discontent is ever a great thing for a group like this to try to do to each other. I really think that it's not, I don't want to say it's not that big of a deal because for some people it really is, but it's so much all at once while we're trying to do so many other things. But I do want to hear from legal regarding what does it mean an individual, like these are teams having separate events outside of school hours. I'd like to hear from them before, which I've already talked myself into a hole, but I would like to hear what they have to say because if I'm wrong, then I accept that, and that's the end of that.
Well, I'm just concerned that if we remove the policy for any, extracurricular activities, and then they determine that the MOA states that it is any school activities that they have to wear masks, we might. That's why I thought.
Right, that's what I want to hear about that. I want to hear from them first.
Yeah.
Before we
Also
try to do anything.
Yeah. Also, maybe, would it be possible if the teachers union would throw us a bone on that, the extracurriculars? I would gather that most of the teachers are worried about it or that would be susceptible to bad consequences of getting it are probably not involved in the extracurriculars. That's just a guess. I don't know, but
I don't know. And if it is something that they, if the legal says that it would bind us, then yes, I think we should talk to the teachers union. Maybe they would allow us to open up the activities that way, but yeah. But
it is like you're saying, it's only 3 months. So it's like, but still it would be something to some people, I believe,
I believe it would.
To have it off for a bit, but
I agree. I'm not disagreeing that. I sat through all those meetings too. So. But if that's okay with everybody, Mr. Schreibeis, we'll have him put the policies, the emergency policies, to review them at our next board meeting, especially the ones that are having to do with mass and extracurricular activities, just to make sure that if we need to amend it so that it allows for people to attend extracurricular activities without masks, as long as everybody's socially distancing or something like that. And
Sorry,
go ahead.
Mr. Johnson or Mr. Goyette, probably Mr. Larson maybe. Do any of you have the current MHSA rules for our teams? Is there any changes to that that I should know about, or that we should know about? Putting you on the spot, I'm sorry.
Yeah, kind of put us on the spot. Now, without having them right in front of us, I think that there's kind of an element of we follow what our school district has been following and kind of our area. But I'd also like to say that I think that we've got a good system going. I think the fans and the people kind of understand the expectations, and we're doing a good job of that. So, with MHSA, they we do have everything is going to be starting next week to head to districts and then state. So, we're our heads are shifting gears into getting prepared for for the big games that are coming down. So, so that's kind of where we're at with that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So does that sound okay with everybody if we do that?
Yep.
Sounds good.
All right, I'll make sure it's on the agenda next board meeting.
Okay. Well, that's the end of our agenda. And I believe that we're going to adjourn this one. I don't think we'll keep it open. So anybody? Thank you, guys. I really appreciate everybody showing up. We really need to do the MOU. I was trying really hard to be responsible. And thank you for all your feedback, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep.